Hello and welcome to another episode of Ashley Haden's Political Breakdown. This week I actually have friends on. Yes, Yay. I do have them. So either this will be a lovely show or it will be fucking some sadomasochistic wanking over each other shit.
I love those odds.
Who knows? So this week my guests are
Richard Wright
and
Gary Shaw.
Fantastic. Now, I've been looking to what we're going to start with, and none of them are particularly fun, I'll be honest with you. I haven't brought many fun stories. So we're going to start with Festival 2022. It's been dubbed the Festival of Brexit.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So have you heard of the Festival of Brexit?
I've heard they're planning to do something.
Yeah. I haven't seen the lineup yet.
120. I want a venue.
£120 million nationwide celebration.
What?
The newly appointed boss is Martin Green, who is also in charge of the Olympics.
Right.
And so I think they put him there, going, well, he's gonna fucking help.
Right.
Well, in the end, I know we thought there would be a shambles, but they were pretty successful in the end.
I mean, the Olympics was fantastic.
But it's a better theme, really, isn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, that's all about the world coming together, not us fucking off.
This is the opposite, yeah.
Do you think that this is a useful use of money, considering everything that's currently going on?
Well, the thing is, I think Brexit. So, regardless your opinions on it,
we're not going to talk about the pros and cons of Brexit.
No,
but I think a festival about it, something which has been very divisive. A festival, once again, going to the Olympics should be about bringing people together.
Well, it's been dubbed the Festival of Brexit, not by them.
No,
not by the government hasn't said, listen, I know a way to piss everyone off. Why, or at least half the fucking country, let's do this. It's, as I say, it's called Festival 2022. There's a lot of fucking twos there.
Festival 2022.
So a couple of years, 2 years to set up a national celebration. And it's going to be a busy year in 2022. I think the Queen's getting older in that year.
Well, I think we all are. She might not be.
I mean, I understand that she only actually ages on even numbers.
Right.
It's one of the things. It's why the royals can live for so long.
Well, that and the diet of swan.
I hear that swan isn't actually that tasty.
No, it doesn't look it. It's sinewy.
So I think the only reason that she would eat swan is just because she could.
That's it, isn't it?
Well, in fact, you don't have to cook it yourself.
Yeah, it's like someone offering you a free sample. You may not necessarily want it, but because they're there, pick it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's been a lot going on with this particular Festival 2022. The left are saying that if you're left-wing, you shouldn't participate if you're an act. Now, agrees, not agrees? Is it just another one of the whiny, lefty, shitty stuff?
As always, they have maybe partially a point, but then it goes away quite quickly. I suppose we don't. If the point of the festival is rah rah, Britain's great, I'm going to have the empire back soon, then maybe don't participate in that. But if the point is to be like, bring the country together in a time of difficulty, because let's be honest, it's going to be a time of difficulty.
Yeah.
And if it's about kind of a more noble aim, and it's about, then possibly the right thing to do is not to be like, well, we're not going to take part, is to embrace it and be like, yes, we can come together as a country, blah, 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 in a good way. But I still think it's pointless.
Yeah.
I think 120 million in the schemes of things isn't tons, but the other side, it can do a lot better. Like, if you really want to bring the country together, why don't you allow some of us to eat?
Well, yeah.
I mean, what we got? We got 40 million people in poverty, with 4 million people in deep poverty, and 1 million people in extreme poverty. They're going to. What you're going to do is basically you're going to fucking smash away a massive countrywide party.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like doing a house party when you don't have a roof. They're going like there's other stuff to be spending this money on.
Yeah.
While you're here. Instead of going, oh, look, aren't we doing wonderful? Is it lip service? Is this all it is? Is this what they're doing here? Let's do a massive party to say that we're going to get everyone together, but really it's just lip service to say, look how good we are.
The cynic in me, the cynical answer is it's a way of nodding to those who feel that this is a victory for them.
A good point.
Like, yes, we won, blah, 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 we won. We should have a party. Let's have a party. Give them a party, and they can be like, look, we're having a party. It's a celebration because it's a victory, because we won as a country.
Well, it's saying that it aims to bring the nation together, showcasing British creativity, and I worry that is talking about how many lies have been happening.
That's amazing.
And it says
a haul of lies.
On some basic level, brings some joy, hope, and happiness. Can you think of other ways that would do that, potentially?
Anything?
Anything. Anything would bring joy, hope, and happiness.
Compared to that.
Compared to a massive party.
But then to me, as Richard was saying about the people that go, oh, we won. I don't see it as a win and lose thing. It was, that would be the wrong way to phrase it. The people that keep going on about we won are clearly people that have never won anything ever before.
I mean, couldn't they just spend 120 million on an open bar? To put it in the middle of the country. Because this is one of the things they have to make sure of. If they're saying this is for the nation, it can't just be a massive piss up in London. You can't. We have to stop going, this is for the country. London.
Yeah, it has to be events up and down the country.
It's going to be. Because this bloke was also in charge of Hull's, when Hull won the City of Culture in like 2017.
Yeah.
What are your favourite memories of that?
God,
I've got
so many.
I've got no fucking memories.
There was,
I think utter shock that Hull won. I think that's my memory of it. The fact that Hull, really? Are we running out? Because you can only win it once.
Yeah.
And so my question is were we running out of places in the whole of Europe? That Hull, maybe Hull's lovely. I've never been.
I've been there a few times.
Yeah, is it nice?
Okay.
Nice. I think.
I know it's got a ferry. That's why.
Has it got a ferry?
It goes to Holland, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
From Hull?
I
suppose if you live in Hull, it's the quickest way of getting there.
There was an episode of, was it Only Fools and Horses called To Holland Back?
I'll be honest, I wouldn't take my geography from Only Fools and Horses.
But I'm assuming there has to be a ferry there. They got on a ferry, so there has to be a ferry there, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Potentially. Pete, can you Google if Hull's got a ferry? Well, we'll move on to another story.
Another story.
Because that one was fucking dragging, if I'm honest with you. Have you two brought any news stories?
Yep. Go ahead first.
Okay. Go on, Gary, you go first.
Pick up my phone as if I was 30 years younger.
What's going to be great is the fact that we're going to have a lot of silence while you look up the fucking story.
Oh, no, I've got it right here. I've got the...
it does. Fantastic. You're right. Well done.
There we go.
Hull to Rotterdam.
Ooh.
Or anywhere, Singapore or Rome, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Very nice.
Hey.
Song lyrics.
What's the fucking story?
Iran willing to negotiate with anyone except for US. And it's got here about the Iran Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said European nations, including the UK, cannot be trusted, but Tehran is not against negotiating with anyone except for the US.
Negotiating for what?
Well, this is, carry on reading. It's got delivering his first sermon in 8 years in Tehran.
I really like the fact, and I'll say this now, I love the fact that you've come so unprepared that you've basically Googled news today on your fucking phone and now reading it out as though that's a news story you've brought.
Well, I have brought it. It is on my phone.
I mean, no, we're not even you've got nothing to say. You don't know anything. You're basically reading the news to me. I could have fucking done that.
Yeah.
Richard, what's your news story?
Okay, let's go.
I do have other ones which I have read more into.
Good.
Okay.
then I wouldn't have fucking started with that one.
Okay. Well, it was the one that was on my phone. So
I printed this off, but I don't particularly need it.
Sideways.
I don't need it. I don't really need it. It's just to get the quotes right.
It's like a fucking GCSE fucking
bring your notes to the
oral
exam.
coming along.
Yeah, grade inflation in top degree grade stopping, and this is about they're happy that the inflation in top grades and degrees has decreased. It's not decreased. It's basically the same this year as last year.
Okay.
20% of students were awarded first-class degrees in 2018-2019, the same as year before. They're happy that it's not going up because apparently if we keep going, people keep getting better grades in their degrees. It's going to devalue degrees. My point here is surely is anywhere else in the world trying to not be happy that our young people are performing well at university?
Well, I mean, you've put their inflation, so I assume that there's some showing that over the years it has become easier to get A's and everything else. So say if A's used to be if you get 90%, now it's if you get 80% you get an A. Is that what it's saying?
It's just saying that the amount awarded has gone up. I don't know that it's necessarily saying that the bands have changed. Doesn't say anything about that.
Because when we're talking about inflation,
it's just the number of people have risen.
Yeah, but I mean, well, there's two ways of looking at that. Either people are getting smarter, which I've seen online, they ain't, or it's getting to a point that it has become easier. So grades, if you get over 50%, that's a C. Whereas potentially back in, like, I mean, what was it when you were young?
I don't have a degree.
No, neither do I.
I've barely got qualifications.
It's very difficult for me to talk about because I never went there. Like I've only got GCSEs, and they weren't good. But so it may be that they're saying that it has moved, it has become easier, we're scoring easier, and that has stopped, or it's that we've peaked intellectually. I mean, there's two ways.
If the banding has changed, then yes, that could be an issue. If we're saying that they're awarding for a lower percentage, like you say, then that is potentially an issue. But we get the same story every year as well. Every time A levels and GCSE results come out,
it's become
and they
easier.
go like, oh, how come they all got these things? Maybe because they worked hard.
Well, which one do you think it is?
As anything, I was probably 6 of one, half dozen the other. But I think it's really, I don't think it's healthy whenever we have a generation of young people who it's not their fault if they're making the bandwidths lower either. It's like, for me, it's more, my issue with it is more that every year we bring out stories that go, oh, it's a disgrace, they wouldn't have got it in my day. And it's like, well, no wonder. Like, we put the young down in this country so much when they're successful. And we go, well, it's because it's easier now. Well, maybe it's not. We don't, do you know what I mean? We don't. I just think that is where I rage quit on that story. So I don't know.
Do you think that why would the marking criteria or the pass rate change? Is it connected with the fact that with a lot of schools now where they have
funding,
the postcode lotteries, and just to say that, you know, in certain areas it shows that these schools are better because they're producing more people with degrees? Or
you have a number of schools as well who, we've seen this time and time again, that if you have a child that is getting lower grades, they will ship them out. They will move them to another school because schools work on an average, and then there's funding involved if you're a successful school. So if there is a children that are struggling, they'll go, right, fuck you over to this shit school so that you yourself, you don't fucking affect us. And the amount of money that
we're not interested in helping you, if you're not going to help us.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, it could be the issue with this is we do not know why it's happened. So it's very difficult to talk about the pros and cons of why it's happening. If it turns out that the children are now at a point that they're as smart as they're going to be, I, for one, worry. Because we are fucking dying. And it's not because children are stupid, it's because we've got so much happening with so many different ways to get conned into making money. I spoke about, there was a few episodes ago, I spoke about a story that you had a drop-off in the amount of university students who were doing Saturday jobs, and the amount of Saturday jobs as a whole were less. And so you found that children were either, children were either going to university and not working, or they were doing things like there's an app called Depop. I think it's Depop. That's like a fucking fashion transaction app. And so you got more people going online to make money. And so are we at a point in society where children are thinking that normal jobs do not matter because they can just do what they've seen people where they go in and they go, right, fucking online, look, these are all the people I watch, I'll just do that.
Yeah, but that's no different to many times over decades where you got guys that have a bit of a kick around on a Saturday morning and go, well, I'm going to be a professional footballer. And I've got friends that had tryouts for clubs and stuff, and then you get to like mid to late teens, and as soon as you discover beer and women, it all goes out the window.
It's the same with that and becoming a rock star.
Oh yeah.
You still everyone going, I'll just be a rock star when I grow up.
I'm still holding out for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I can't play any instruments.
You could be a crooner. You just need a big band behind you. You could do it.
I need a fucking hope and a prayer, mate. That's what I require. So, I mean, do children have it worse now than they did in previous generations? Is mental health now a bigger issue than it's ever been with the pressures that children are under, or have children always been under the same amount of pressure and we just didn't give a fuck back then?
I think there's less jobs out there. A lot more things are now automated, or you kids come out of school at, well, I don't know if it's 16 anymore. Is it 17, 18 now, depending on what they do?
I don't know, have they moved it up to 18? I don't think so. I think you can still leave at 16.
I think you can leave at 16,
yeah.
But there's far fewer do now than did historically.
Yeah, it's a lot more expected that you'll do A-levels.
Or at least go on to sixth form without going to college and stuff. But there's so many companies. I mean, there's far fewer apprenticeships. I mean, I did an apprenticeship when I left school. You don't get that so much now. You got a lot more companies don't just want to see the qualifications, they want to see experience. And obviously you can't, it's the old thing, if you can't get experience if you haven't had a job.
But this is one of the things that was spoken about with regards to the drop in people doing Saturday jobs and paper round and stuff like that. I mean, paper rounds just don't fucking exist anymore because no one's buying a fucking paper.
No.
But with all of this, they're going, well, there's a concern that kids are growing up having no experience of working anywhere professional at all, be it in a cafe or be it in a paper round, something like that, without any responsibilities that require to work in like an office or something like this. And so they get a much more of a culture shock when they leave university, say, having never worked before, and so they've potentially done a gap year, and so they know what the sun feels like on their back in Thailand, but they don't know what it is when someone tells you to fucking do something. You do it, unless they're caught in Thailand and attacked. That's different.
A little. You know what kids don't have a lot of experience of anymore? Kidnapping. That's what they don't have.
When I was young, everyone was kidnapped.
Knew what kidnapping was.
Everyone was kidnapped. It was part of the initiation of life. That's university of life. That is
2 years in Cambodia, mate. I don't know what the
being tied to a tree for 5 years. That's
Actually, I only did the 2.
Okay.
Right. Counterterrorist Police. They are. What does that say? Recalling, that's it. They're recalling official guidance which has suggested that Muslims who believe they are oppressed could be a sign of extremism. This goes along with last week's news that this same piece of guidance had put the Extinction Rebellion on the same level as jihadists and neo-Nazis. Wow. In terms of terrorists. Now, are we getting to a point with counter-terrorists and counter-terrorism where we are just doing everything and it becomes a lot more political than actually looking to keep everyone safe?
I don't.
Well, the thing is, I mean, how do you... the old question is, how do you define terrorism? I mean, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yeah, but not in this. Yeah, but we're talking
Counterterrorist Police.
It's a load of kids whose at least their hearts in the right place.
Oh, they're not violent.
No.
And I mean, is Extinction Rebellion dangerous ideology?
No.
No.
No, they glue themselves to trains. And
I mean, that's a level of
people,
stupidity that annoys me.
They piss a load of people off, but it's there's a vast difference between disrupting commuters and putting bombs in shopping centres, isn't it? Really? So
I mean, are they any different to say the the anti-apartheid protests in the 80s?
No, probably not. But then again, who's anti-apartheid? The ones here, the demonstrations and stuff, or the ones in South Africa, which were bombs in shopping centres and stuff?
Well, I mean, that's what was actually happening there. I mean, if the thing is, if the Extinction Rebellion started going and bombing places, and this is, there's a part of me that thinks they're going to, because the left always pick the worst possible fucking route. Constantly. It is amazing. If the left were standing there butt naked with an erection, say, right, what you've got here is you've got a tub of Vaseline or a child. They'll fuck the child, but it would be a skip. It would be a mistake. Going, honestly, I thought that was Vaseline. Like, well, you probably did, but you fucked up there. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Every time the left have a fucking good point and a valid argument, they fuck it up by being assholes. Constantly. So I reckon in the next few months we're going to find fucking the Extinction Rebellion are going to start bombing like old Woolworths. Just find out where they used to be and start bombing them. Where fucking Greta Thunberg's there going, well, this isn't what I originally stood out for, but at the same time, fuck them, where's my penny sweets? Useless cunts. So, I mean, human rights groups have condemned this this guidance. And it was all done in the southeast as something that is anti-discrimination, or pro-discrimination and anti-free expression. So, I mean, the first question is, if Muslims believe they are oppressed, is that a sign of extremism?
Well, no. Surely
No.
a sign of extremism would be whichever route they took to express that.
Well,
If you could say that would be an area where they could be led into extremism and extremism acts, or it's just someone that's pissed off about something. We've all been pissed off about something over the years.
well, ISIS are well known to use. One of their arguments is always, look at how everyone treats us. We're better than everything. We deserve this. You're being oppressed. Come with us. That's their argument. So I do get while they're saying like, if a Muslim believes they're oppressed, then it could be a sign. But that is such a small thing. Like if a Muslim believes they're oppressed, especially in this country, there's a good chance they're fucking right.
Yes.
Let's be honest about this.
It's not a necessary case. I think it's. How can I put this?
Carefully.
Yeah, carefully. They
Quicker. I would say quicker.
They all right. It's the saying that the sign of the saying they're oppressed is a sign that they'll be. It's not necessarily that. It's potentially. I knew I'd be bad on this show. It's potential that they can be not right. I don't want to say the word radicalized. Is what I don't want to say. But
Whoops.
There's potential. I've said it now. There's potential for that argument that you're saying recruited. Okay, right?
Yes.
So but then that doesn't make them a threat. It means the potential that they could be targeted to be, but that's not.
I mean, the first.
I'm
the
not
first
intelligent
job,
enough to make this argument.
I mean, but God loves a trier. Yeah, the first thing would be that if Muslims do believe themselves to be oppressed, find out why, maybe make some changes. If you think that Muslims being oppressed is going to move them to radicalisation, I don't necessarily think that. I think with regards to our attempting to de-radicalise people with Prevent and things like that, because this is all part of Prevent, and Prevent is the government's counter-terrorist strategy, which is... Well, it's part of the counter-terrorism strategy, and it is fucking racist. It's based on lies, basically. It's debunked science, and it's like fucking Islamophobic and racist. And basically they're going, if you're Muslim, you've got a higher chance of being a fucking jihadist. I mean, technically that's true because no other race becomes jihadist, but that's not the point.
No.
Actually, that is also a lie, because you do see the white lads who tend to go over, convert themselves to Muslim, go over there, always ugly as well. It's a lot of them ginger. It tells you something. I'm not sure about what, but it does tell you something. Where was I? That was a rant that wasn't needed. There was an aside there that was. Stop oppressing Muslims. That was the point. Yeah. That was the point I was going for.
Yes.
I think
Christ, I went around the fucking houses for that.
If some Muslims are claiming that they're oppressed, all that shows is that there are some Muslims who feel oppressed.
Yes.
If you can extrapolate from that to acts of terrorism, then whoever said that has clearly got a column in the Daily Mail somewhere. Yeah, it doesn't mean that that's the case. It doesn't mean that's going to happen.
I mean, it can be that being oppressed, having racism chucked at you and everything else, that could quite easily be the slight door ajar to moving towards radicalisation. Yeah. Certainly, no one's doubting that. But to say that if Muslims say they're oppressed, this could show that they're fucking radicalised. That's not the same thing. This is a continuation of requirement to put Muslims as an entire fucking one movement as a whole, instead of just a lot of people. And even when we look to de-radicalise, we never look at actually tackle the ideology that's being pushed. It's the same with when you've got white nationalists. We never look white nationalists and say, right, what are your opinions? Let's actually tackle the opinions, because that's the problem. We've radicalised Muslims, we've radicalised white people, we've radicalised fucking Jewish people, everything. It's the actual ideology that needs to be tackled, and we never do it. We never actually say, right, all of them have one thing in common, is their dislike of women. And we never fucking go, right, you don't like women. Why? You think they should be this, this and this. Why? And actually look at their argument and say, well, this doesn't make any sense. This isn't fucking holding up. And actually fucking take apart the ideology that they stand on that helps them get radicalised. And this is just another showing of what we're doing is we're trying to fucking plaster over an issue where instead of actually dealing with the people who are radicalising people, we're just going, well, why don't we just keep an eye on all fucking Muslims instead? And if they ever say that they're being dealt with racism, then there's a good chance they're going to be a fucking jihad. It's madness. I can't comprehend why we're doing this.
Because what you said to do is hard.
Yeah, but it's meant. If it was easy,
basically,
honestly, if it was easy, I would do it.
Yeah.
And I do not like doing hard things. Yeah. I don't. It's one of the reasons I'm not gay. But hey, see, I'm still doing jokes.
He's chucking in the jokes.
Still
He's chucking in the jokes, guys.
Still time.
Yeah. No, I have to do a joke one of these days.
No, I meant the gay thing.
There is. But I mean, I don't like people enough. I'll be honest. I mean, there's something there. But with regards to how we're actually dealing with it, how should it be? How should we be actually moving forward?
Well, the thing is, as you said, it's address the issues that can lead to that. It's not lazy stereotyping. And the thing is, as Richard says, it is very hard. But then nothing worthwhile in life invariably is easy and happens quickly. It takes planning, it takes thought, it takes hard work. And a lot of people can't be bothered. And the thing is, as we know, whether it's the government that doing this or anyone else suggesting it, the thing is we know with the government, any government, ever, anywhere, are not interested in anything that will bear any kind of fruit after their term. If it takes 10 years to do it, they will not fucking do it.
I mean, that's a problem. So would you suggest that we allow governments to be in there for longer?
No.
Yeah.
No. No, because often one of the checks against governments pursuing certain things that might not be for the best of the nation is that they're only in there for a short amount of time, then they've got to get re-elected again. And if, say, you allow a 10-year term, awful things will happen.
Yeah, I mean, like you could do it so that you give them, you can only be, you wouldn't be able to do that. No. You're 100% right that you shouldn't do longer than 5 years, because you get to a point where it becomes dictatorship. Yeah. Because I mean, if you gave someone, if you're allowed 2 terms, say like over in the US, I think you got a president can be in there for 2 terms, and that's it.
That's it.
I mean, for ourselves, it's a lot longer. But imagine if you had fucking David Cameron or Tony Blair, and Tony Blair won 3 elections. Imagine him being in there for 30 years.
Or Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson. Oh, imagine Boris Johnson. Oh, he's fucking gunner as well, isn't he? Oh, God, he's going to constantly win. How truly depressing. Right, pick a news story, because I need to go for a whiz.
Okay.
So, one of you two do a news story,
I got one.
and I'm going to pretend I'm not here to hear it.
Okay.
Does that mean we carry on, or?
Just keep going. Oh, I thought you cut it. Okay.
Right. Okay, I have one, and I won't even look at my phone, so he's not going to be impressed.
Go ahead.
Because he would see me not doing it for my phone.
Exactly.
The one that I was going to say was regarding the crowdfunding to make Big Ben toll.
I brought that as well.
On the
I brought that as well.
The thing which
it's amazing.
The thing I find interesting, Mark Francois.
Yeah.
So you got him and Nigel Farage. Why do these little Englanders have French names? I know there's a lot of history with a lot of, our royal family. The elements of those over the years were French. French was widely spoken here. But why do these little Englanders have French names?
Don't know.
I don't know. Just to clarify,
as a quick side point, but it's amazing him going like, it's baffling if we can't get Big Ben to toll on such a momentous occasion. We're going to raise, it's going to was 500 million, right?
Yep.
To get it to time. Here's a thought.
500,000.
I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on bells. Obviously not a bell expert. On costs of belling, but here's a thought, and it might save us 500 million. How about we play a recording?
See, I'd be okay with that.
Just play a recording, right? And then they've got their happy thing. They've got their Brexit bong, right? Which sounds like a really depressing marijuana experience, right? But cheap joke. But just play a flipping recording. Save £500 million. There we go. Take that £500 million. Put it to good use. Doing something else rather than just being obsessed with we must get Big Ben to ring and celebrate.
Well, the other thing that made me laugh about it is Marc Francois says it's a very iconic clock, Big Ben.
It's not
the clock.
No.
It's not even the tower. That's the Elizabeth Tower. It's the 13-ton bell at the top of it.
Yeah. It's a big bell.
It has been said now that what the government is going to do instead is just project a countdown on it, and they've allowed Nigel Farage to have a massive party. That's what's going to happen. So I mean, it's
so they're literally just going to. My suggestion is they're just going to play a recording.
Oh yeah, well they're going to project a clock counting down.
Oh,
don't know if it's going to be a recording of a clock counting down.
No, but just play a recording of Big Ben chiming.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're going to do that, but they're going to have some form of music. I think there's a very nationalistic view with regards to this, as it's some form of freedom.
Symbol.
Yeah, and you've had Brexit MEPs who are the worst of the MEPs. They've asked the EU to lower the Union Jack as you would for like a colony leaving. You go, this is beyond parody at this point. There are people who truly believe that us being in the EU was some form of fucking like we were a colony, like fucking India was to us, like as though the EU came in, killed fucking millions of us, gave us a railroad and said you're welcome, which isn't the case. The fact is that with the EU we ran it.
They came here, they built art centres in Wales and Manchester and areas of redevelopment, and then
they invaded. They put lots of us in concentration camps.
Oh, I remember the EU concentration camps.
Spent billions redeveloping. Anyway.
Everyone had to listen to fucking speeches by that fucking guy knobhead. What's his guy? Begins with V. Fuck him. He doesn't deserve to be fucking done. Whatever his fucking name is. It's a foreign name anyway, isn't it? You know, who needs it?
We're just talking about foreign names. We're talking about the foreign names of the Little Englanders.
Oh, Marc Francois. You should never have been able to fucking hear about Marc Francois. He should never have got near TV. I mean, there's 650 MPs. The fact that he became the face of something is a worry. Well, the fact that he became a face of something and it wasn't pork scratchings is a fucking worry, I think.
Oh, you'd never eat those pork scratchings?
Oh, no.
I wouldn't trust him to sell pork scratchings.
So, well, maybe once the bell
looks like fucking pork
maybe once the bell has told, either live or in recording, we can then say to Mark, Francois,
bye-bye.
You've had your 15 minutes, now fuck off.
I mean, he's not. He's going to be in for another fucking 5 years, isn't he?
Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean we have to hear from him. Why can't he just sleep in the back benches?
What's the ERG going to do after this?
After what, the celebration?
After we leave.
After we leave.
Because they're meant to be researching Europe, and I'm not 100% sure they know where it is.
Well, that's why.
Well, if you can't see it, then it doesn't exist.
They had to research. Didn't know anything about it.
With regards to politics, while we're talking about how terrible it is, the Culture Secretary, Nicky Morgan, and Environmental Minister, Zach Goldsmith, have both this week taken their seats in the House of Lords after becoming lifelong peers. Wow. So, Nicky Morgan decided not to stand for the last election. Because of the bullying that she received in politics, and also because she already knew she was going to get a life peerage after saying that she would never work for a government run by Boris Johnson, which lasted all of fucking seconds. She has the fucking backbone of a mollusk. And then you've got Zach Goldsmith, who actually lost in the last election. And was made a life peer. He is Zach Goldsmith, and he's been named Lord Goldsmith of Richmond Park, and he lost in Richmond. They cannot get rid of the man. They have tried everything they can in Richmond to get rid of him, and he has come back time and time again, like Freddy Krueger, but without the charm.
Well, if you don't get rid of it all, it just comes back stronger.
The Bollywood lover, Zach Goldsmith, who cannot name a Bollywood film.
Brilliant.
Loves them, though.
Loves it, though. Big fan.
What do you like about them? You know.
I always turn up at the cinema 5 minutes late, so I miss the titles coming up.
Fucking vile. So Morgan she's the Baroness Morgan of Coates, or Cottess, or whatever the fuck it is.
That's a shame. I was hoping it would just...
the bank?
No, it's a COTES.
It's a place. I was kind of hoping it was just Coates, like just Coates. It's a Baroness of Coates.
She's been your fucking use.
Coats, jackets, and...
I mean, she's still the Culture Secretary, even though she didn't stand in the previous fucking election.
Is that how they get round it now? If you lose your seat or don't stand, we'll give you a peerage and then you just keep your job?
House of Lords, should it be kept?
No. Oh, see, that's difficult. Oh, I've jumped in there.
Yes, you have done.
I've jumped in there and just said no.
Gary, thoughts?
Well, the thing is, I think, the prime example with these two just mentioned, where, I mean, it just seems to be nowadays you can get a life peerage free in a box of cereal. I mean, does it actually mean anything anymore? When you've got the life...
I mean, it gives them... Because you don't earn money being a life peer unless you take into account the amount of money you make for all the companies that you work for as directors.
There's always perks.
But you do get...
It's not exactly a 0 hours contract, is it?
But you do get expenses of £300 a day.
Yeah.
So
very nice.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't need to fucking do anything. What, £300 a day, say 5 days a week. So 3 times 5, 1,500. Do that by 4. So you're looking at 6,000. I mean, you're doing fucking fine. 6 times 12, what, 72k a year?
You're not struggling.
Live on that.
You're not struggling.
I could fucking... I mean, I would buy an awful lot of Freddos on that.
£300 a day.
I eat quite
Take
well.
sandwiches in, so you haven't got to buy lunch. God, you're doing well.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
I mean, there, Gary. I've got my lunchbox. I've got cheese and pickle today.
But, I mean, like
Subsidised bar.
the issue with the House of Lords, it's not easy.
No, 'cause
mainly owing to the fact that we need something in this
That's what I was gonna
country
say. You do
that
need a second chamber.
holds the government to account,
Yeah.
and they have shown time and time and again, especially over Brexit, that they are able to.
Yeah.
That they actually did. Because I think when you get to a point, if you're like a life peer, you know that I don't need to be fucking elected in,
Yes.
so I can actually do something for good, and I'm not here just bending over for the party that I'm meant to be standing for. That should be how it is. However, potentially, if we have all of the lords that we currently have, and maybe we vote them in, so we instead of having hundreds of lords sit in the House of Lords, say we have 30 or 40 of the people who are lords at the moment. Maybe that's a way, but at the same time, if we look at how the fucking... Because my concern is that we turn into America.
Yeah, you don't want...
I do not like that.
It's a difficult one. I am about to disagree with what I said earlier because I've already...
You can argue with yourself anytime.
Argue with yourself. Argue with yourself.
I think that definitely we need a second chamber to hold account.
Yeah.
Obviously, we do.
Be careful you don't fucking fall off, mate.
I'm just thinking that.
This will go viral. Be the
I-
only clip of the show.
And I'm not necessarily against lifetime peerages, hereditary peerages, and an unelected house. That's fine. In fact, I'd like, if we're going to have that. Have a second chamber that's completely unelected, but that getting into that second chamber, the government has absolutely nothing to do with it. So this can't happen.
So it is a independent body.
That is nominated for people to go into by a complete independent panel with no ties to the government, because we've seen for years, it's not a new thing. It's years governments have put who they want in the House of Lords.
Yes. And they've stacked the House of Lords in their favour, because the thing is, you can't take, unless you put in laws, you cannot take away from the House of Lords.
No.
All you can do is add.
Yes.
Add. So you've got something at the moment. You've got more people sitting in the House of Lords than you do in the House of Commons. They're going, how have you got more lords than fucking MPs?
Yeah.
We've got 650 MPs. You've got like 700. I think it's something like, I've got 792 in my head, that may be bullshit.
Yeah, no, sounds right.
And so you're there going, how have this?
Because they
how has
keep
this happened?
adding them in there. The thing is, the 650 MPs, that's a static number, because every time there's an election or if someone steps down, they then have to have a by-election. It's still that number. Whereas if you keep adding people to the House of Lords and you're not taking any away, but then I agree with Richard, the government shouldn't have a say in it, because then you've got our current Prime Minister who can then, it's almost as if he's putting his own people in there.
But that happens every single time. There is a level of nepotism in our politics. I mean, even with the House of Lords, you've got life peers, and then you've also got the other like not even life eternal fucking peers, whereas even if they die, it moves over to their fucking child like some form of fucking genetic disease. Going along, right? I'm inbred and so are you forever, constantly, because I once owned a piece of land. Fucking ridiculous madness of it all. And I mean, there are many issues with our politics. One of them being land owning and the fact that it's something mad, like 5% own 75% of the land in this fucking country. And that's not even saying the 17% of land that we have in this country where no one knows who owns it, because they've never sold it. And so if you've never sold it, there's no fucking documentation, because these are the people who have owned land for so fucking long that they're not even part of the world anymore. They're like a fucking tree. Just there. No one knows where it got there. They're just fucking Lord Rape-a-Lot and his fucking Mrs. fucking Grouse, or whatever the fuck they are. It's just madness. Type of people who have the job title of I'm a gentleman. Like, oh, fuck off, mate. Are you sure? I knew someone once whose dad's job title was literally a gentleman. They go, mate, where the are you from a Dickens novel? What the fuck's going on here?
Anyone that describes themselves as a gentleman invariably isn't.
No, but that's his fucking job title.
Yeah.
This isn't like this isn't a fucking Tinder profile. I consider myself quite the gentleman. He literally is a fucking gentleman. He's a landlord. Like what madness? What other job titles are there that's that fucking knobby? That's what do you do for a living? I'm a gentleman. Fuck off, mate. Doff your cap over a fucking cliff. Anyway,
fair point.
Anyway, so we haven't solved the House of Lords, but do move on. I say do move on, I'm talking to myself. Boris Johnson has said... oh no, that's the donate, that's the fucking...
the bell thing.
That's the bell thing. There is another delightful story from Boris Johnson that we can tackle, though.
When is there not?
Turns out that Boris Johnson has appointed a key figure to the Grenfell Tower inquiry that has links to the company that made the cladding.
Is it Theresa May?
No.
Okay.
I saw something.
So last month, Blowjob picked engineer Bonita Mirror to assist the retired Sir Martin Moore Bick, who's a retired judge who is leading the inquiry. Now, she previously ran an organisation that received 71,000 grants from the charity arm of the company, the US company, that made the aluminium cladding that was used on Grenfell. Now, obvious question, is this conflict of interest? Because she received a grant.
From the charity wing.
Yeah, from the charity arm. The company is... Arconic is the murderous cunts.
Does the grant have to be repaid?
No.
So basically a big brown paper bag full of Reddies.
Yeah, but this was ages ago.
This was ages ago, though.
I mean, this is when she was...
Historical Reddies are still Reddies.
Well, this is the thing. Is she going to... And I mean, I don't know her, so I don't necessarily want to slight on her character.
Do you know whether she's made a statement on that?
She has declined to comment from what I saw, but I mean, she said all the right things. Like I'm not that much of a piece of shit that
we can all say
I get
that.
money from things. But should she be allowed on this fucking inquiry? Simply, I mean, that's should she be allowed there? Whether or not it's a form of conflict of interest, should she have been originally appointed if there is a link between her and thing?
I personally, if it had been I wouldn't have, but only because, not necessarily that it will be a conflict of interest, even the appearance of a conflict of interest will taint whatever the inquiry says. So... the issue with her being there is she could do absolutely nothing wrong. She could do her job entirely perfectly, do nothing that would imply a conflict of interest, do nothing to aid the people that gave her the money, and still, because of that link, we will have people that will claim that she did. The inquiry is now compromised simply because the perception will be she has done that, even if she doesn't.
It would be like selecting the route planner of Kennedy's assassination and to the inquiry of thing like, well, you were the one who did the route. I'm not saying you killed him, but potentially let's not have you fucking involved at all. In this aspect, she shouldn't be allowed in, should she?
Well, the thing is, to me, it begs the questions: what was the criteria to pick the person, and B, who else was on the list of potential candidates? And if she's she's the best one, who else was on there? Wow, how bad were they?
Well, what were you looking at? The
Murderers
fucking
and rapists.
the CEO of the company, the fucking chairman of the company, everyone else who actually worked for the company. Yeah. Well, at least you didn't work for them.
No, that's it.
It's fine. Boris Johnson with a fucking wig on.
I took money from them. I didn't go in there once though.
Yeah, it's madness. Right, we've got 10 minutes. So have we got any final news stories before I do a roundup of the stuff that we missed?
Nope. I brought the bell thing.
Yep, so I will do one more story for us.
Okay.
Let's go for this one. Norwegian Consumer Council report has said that dating services like Grindr, OkCupid and Tinder are spreading user information like dating choices and exact locations to advertisers and marketing companies in a way that may be against privacy laws. Now, are we at a point with society that we have no control over data at all and we will never get it back, or is this just company doing too much and we can bring it back to a point where we actually have some control?
Quite possibly. I've never been on a dating app.
Oh, but you've been with Lucy for ages, mate.
Forever.
I mean, and before that, they weren't about.
I know. We spoke to women and stuff, in one-on-one.
I speak to women. I do use dating apps occasionally, but what I like is to talk to women and let my personality ruin it instead of just my face.
Oh, no. That's admirable. See. I just like to assume that they're all not interested, and then I don't have to bother.
I like to know.
Oh no, I'm fairly confident.
I'm
fairly confident.
I'm big on knowledge.
I've done the research.
I like to know that they're not interested, because otherwise it's the hope that gets you, mate.
Absolutely.
But the thing is,
but anyway, back to the data problem.
Because otherwise
we'll start turning a different podcast.
We'll start turning into fucking loose women.
Thing is, I would ask in all seriousness about dating apps and stuff, because I don't have any knowledge of them. But not that it would be acceptable to pass on data of people that register, but how do the dating apps themselves monetize what they're doing? Is there adverts on there, or?
Surely
if they're passing on data, they're selling it. But
some there are. But if you sell the data, if you pass it on, there is going to be a monetary transaction at that point. It may not necessarily work, because there are different ways to make money, and you find this with regards to other things, finance and whatnot, that it doesn't necessarily have to be the money a client someone on the dating app handing money over. What the money comes from will be potentially profits made by another company using your data.
That's it. Yeah.
That you work on basically a profit share.
Yeah.
And so even the line between I'm not giving you any money for this data, I'm giving you no money for this data, but I am making, but the profits that are made for me as a company, we're going to give you like a consulting fee.
Yeah.
Something like that. There are back doors to all of it.
So then my question would be, if we will now have an awareness that when we register online for various apps, websites, whatever, companies, portals online. As we have an awareness, there's a good chance that their information is going to be passed on. Is it then we weigh up the odds? Is it a balancing act of, well, I know they're going to pass this on, but as I've just met my soulmate and I'm going to be happy forever, is that a worthwhile cost?
Grindr's transmitting user tracking codes, and also things like you're chucking away people's sexual orientation, and like Grindr shouldn't be there telling the fucking world that you're gay if you're not there fucking telling anyone else. And this is where we're getting to. It's the privacy that we have now is non-existent.
Yeah.
And the question is will we ever be able to put it? I mean, will we ever be able to put the genie back in a bottle? Really?
No. The sauce is out of the bottle. You can't put the sauce back in the bottle. What you can do is, as a individual, is you just have to be. It's getting to the point where you're going to have to be very, very careful about what you click, what you sign up for, what you're accepting, and I think...
But this is terms and conditions as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, no one reads terms and conditions, but even if you read them, you wouldn't understand them.
No. They're very, written, very well written to, Well,
they're written by lawyers for lawyers.
Yeah.
So you could read the fucking 18 pages of lawyer jargon, because you said, have you read and understood? I've read it. I ain't got a fucking clue, mate. Yeah. You have to go back and go. It's like the Silmarillion, but for knobheads. This is what you get. You're just going like, what? What's that fucking thing? Like 15.BA7. What the fuck's this again? Oh, okay. That says you can rim me anytime you want. Okay. I mean, it's impossible to keep up with it all.
As we say. But people don't even read terms and conditions.
No,
We've all done that.
Yeah,
We've all looked at some
exercise. They have to make it easier.
But that's it. So what do we say? I mean, I know that the companies have to cover themselves legally, which is why they have so much legalese in there. But then, as you say, if it's only understood by other lawyers from the lawyers that wrote it, but we've still agreed to it, so should terms and conditions be? Should there be a dummies guide version of it so we can go?
There should be.
Right. First section, you're fucked. Second one, you're not fucked. Yeah.
Right. I think there should be. I think it's a valid point. Final points, because I need to go through these now.
Go.
The final stuff that we didn't get to. UK has failed to pass on the details of 75,000 convictions of foreign criminals to their home EU countries, and also concealed the scandal over fears of damaging Britain's reputation to Europe. So that's going to be a fun, fucking enjoyable negotiations going on there. Yeah, you can trust us. We need all this information. Oh, terrible.
What is that reputation?
Damaging our reputation in Europe.
Bad. Tory MP Jamie Wallace, he's a new MP for Bridgend, has claimed that he was not involved in the running of a sugar daddy website, but he in fact co-owned the site. Bit of fun.
Wow.
Amazing.
In recent weeks, there has been 2 significant attacks carried out by Al-Shabaab, one in Kenya and one in Mogadishu. This comes at a time where both the US and France are considering taking troops out of Africa. You've also got...
Not enough oil there.
Let's have a look. Cities across southern Europe are experiencing dangerously high levels of smog caused by prolonged periods of dry, sunny weather and light winds. So they're currently banning certain vehicles for like 3 days. It's not going to affect anything, but fuck it, at least they're trying.
Still play professional tennis there.
3 Home Office ministers this week summoned Lord Dubs, the Labour peer, to a meeting to try to stop him from trying to look after child refugees. So that's lovely. Newspaper editors have urged Boris Johnson to consult further to changes on the lobbying system. There's more to that, but you need to do your own fucking research. We've run out of time. I want to thank my guests, Richard Wright, Gary Shaw. Goodbye, and buy my albums. Hang on.